What makes someone truly irresistible in a world full of noise and distraction? It's not charisma, wealth, or even charm. It's something deeper, something timeless. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What if the key to being magnetic lies not in what you do, but in how you think and live? Today, we're diving into 20 subtle Stoic habits that can transform your presence, making you effortlessly compelling in any situation. These aren't grand gestures or complex strategies. They're quiet, intentional practices rooted in ancient wisdom. Together, we'll explore how small shifts in your mindset and actions can create a profound impact, helping you stand out in a way that feels authentic and enduring. How often have you found yourself glancing at your phone or mentally drifting away while someone is speaking to you? It happens to all of us, but here's the thing. Those small moments of distraction can erode trust and connection faster than we realize. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They believed that true presence in conversations wasn't just polite, it was a profound act of respect and mindfulness. Epictetus once said, "You must attend to the subject and bend yourself to it as to the gods." In other words, giving someone your full attention is a sacred act, a way of honoring their humanity. But how do we actually do this in our busy, distraction-filled lives? Start by practicing active listening. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, focus entirely on what the other person is saying. Notice their tone, their body language, and the emotions behind their words. Even something as simple as maintaining eye contact and nodding can make a world of difference. Here's a challenge. In your next conversation, resist the urge to check your phone or let your mind wander. Be fully there, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Afterward, ask yourself, did you feel more connected? Did the other person seem to notice? This small habit, rooted in Stoic philosophy, can transform the way you relate to others, building deeper trust and stronger relationships. So the next time someone speaks, remember, presence isn't just a gift to them, it's a gift to yourself. When was the last time you sat in silence without distraction? In a world brimming with noise, phones buzzing, screens flickering, and endless chatter, true silence has become a rare commodity. But for the Stoics, it was a cornerstone of self-mastery. They believed that silence was not just the absence of sound, but a space for clarity and control. Seneca once wrote, "Be silent for the most part, or say only what is necessary and in few words." This wasn't just about speaking less, it was about creating room to observe, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Silence allowed them to step back from the chaos of life and see things as they truly were. It's like a mental reset button, grounding you in the present moment. Start small, maybe with just 5 minutes at the beginning of your day. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and let your thoughts flow without judgment. You might be surprised at how this simple practice shifts your mindset. Over time, silence becomes a refuge, a place where you can recharge and gain perspective. Notice how it affects your mood, your focus, and even your interactions with others. When you embrace silence, you're not just avoiding noise, you're cultivating a habit of inner calm that makes you more composed and, in turn, more magnetic. Emotional storms don't have to control you. The Stoics believed that while emotions are natural, they don't have to dictate your actions or inner peace. Think of it this way, emotions are like weather, sometimes turbulent, sometimes calm, but you are the sky, vast and unchanging. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This idea of emotional detachment doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It's about not letting them overwhelm your judgment or sense of self. Consider a moment when you've been caught in an argument or faced an unexpected setback. The instinct might be to react immediately, but what if you paused instead? That moment of detachment allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. It's like stepping back from a painting to see the whole picture instead of getting lost in the brushstrokes. Here's a practical way to practice this. The next time you're in a stressful situation, take a deep breath and remind yourself that the emotion you're feeling is temporary. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? Often, the answer puts things into perspective. Reflect on this. What's one area of your life where emotional detachment could make a difference? Maybe it's a heated conversation with a loved one or a frustrating day at work. By cultivating this habit, you're not ignoring your emotions. You're choosing not to let them define you. And that's where true resilience begins. How much of your energy is spent worrying about things you can't change? It's a question worth asking because often we find ourselves tangled in stress over situations entirely outside our influence. The Stoics had a profound way of addressing this through what's known as the Dichotomy of Control. Simply put, they divided life into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot. Your thoughts, actions, and responses, these are within your power. The weather, other people's opinions, or the past, not so much. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, put it best: some things are within our control and some things are not. His wisdom reminds us that peace comes from focusing on the internal rather than obsessing over the external. Here's a practical way to apply this. The next time you're faced with a challenge, take a moment to make a list. On one side, write down what's within your control: your effort, your attitude, your preparation. On the other, note what's not: the outcome, other people's reactions, or unforeseen obstacles. This simple exercise can help you redirect your energy toward what truly matters. Instead of wasting mental bandwidth on the uncontrollable, you'll find yourself taking actionable steps that actually move you forward. So, where can you shift your focus today? What small, meaningful action can you take that aligns with what's within your power? Gratitude is the antidote to dissatisfaction. It's a simple yet profound habit that can transform how we see the world. The Stoics believed that gratitude wasn't just a fleeting emotion, but a deliberate practice, a way to shift our focus from what we lack to the abundance already present in our lives. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, often emphasized the importance of appreciating what we have, rather than lamenting what we don't. He wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This isn't about ignoring life's challenges, but about recognizing the good that coexists with them. Practicing gratitude daily helps us cultivate a mindset of contentment. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but about finding value in the present moment, no matter how small. One practical way to start is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of a sunrise. Over time, this habit trains your mind to notice and appreciate the positives, even on difficult days. So, take a moment to reflect. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? It's a small exercise, but it has the power to shift your perspective and bring a sense of peace. Gratitude, as the Stoics taught, is a practice that can anchor us in the present and help us navigate life's ups and downs with greater resilience. How often do you find yourself regretting your immediate reactions in moments of stress or conflict? Stoicism teaches us the power of responding instead of reacting, a subtle yet transformative habit that builds respect, trust, and inner peace. The Stoics believed that our first impulse is often emotional and uninformed, but by pausing, we can choose a more thoughtful and intentional path. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This simple yet profound idea reminds us to step back, breathe, and assess the situation before acting. Here's how you can apply this in everyday life. When you feel anger or frustration rising, take a moment to count to 10 before responding. This brief pause allows your emotions to settle and gives you the clarity to choose a more constructive approach. For instance, imagine a heated conversation where someone criticizes you. Instead of lashing out defensively, you could take a deep breath, acknowledge their point, and respond calmly. This not only diffuses tension but also demonstrates emotional maturity and self-control. Think about a recent situation where you reacted impulsively. What could have been different if you had taken a moment to pause and respond more thoughtfully? By practicing this habit, you'll notice how your relationships improve as others begin to see you as someone who stays composed under pressure. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about channeling them in a way that aligns with your values and goals. Chasing validation is a never-ending race, one that leaves you perpetually unsatisfied and distracted from what truly matters. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, and their wisdom offers a powerful antidote to our modern obsession with external approval. Instead of seeking praise or recognition, they focused on cultivating inner growth and self-awareness. As Epictetus famously said, "It is impossible for a person to begin to learn what they think they already know." In other words, when you're constantly fishing for compliments or validation, you're stuck in a cycle of pretending to know who you are rather than actually discovering it. Think about the decisions you've made in your life. How many of them were influenced by a desire to impress others? Whether it's the job you took, the way you dress, or even the way you speak, external validation often sneaks into our choices without us realizing it. The Stoics would argue that this is a recipe for discontent. True confidence, they believed, comes from knowing yourself deeply and staying true to your own values, regardless of what others think. Here's a practical way to apply this. The next time you're faced with a decision, ask yourself, would I still do this if no one was watching? This simple question can help you strip away the layers of external influence and focus on what truly aligns with your principles. It's about shifting your mindset from seeking approval to seeking wisdom that comes from within. Imagine a life where you're free from the weight of others' opinions, where your actions are guided by your own compass rather than the applause of the crowd. That's the kind of freedom the Stoics championed, and it's a habit worth cultivating. So take a moment to reflect. What would you do differently if no one was watching? The answer might just lead you closer to your most authentic self. What would it feel like to let go of perfectionism? For many of us, the pursuit of perfection can feel like a heavy weight, something that drains our energy and leaves us frustrated. The Stoics, however, saw imperfection in a very different light. To them, it wasn't something to fear or avoid. It was a natural part of being human, a reminder of our shared humanity and an opportunity for growth. Seneca once wrote, "The wise man is neither raised up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity, for he has always endeavored to rely chiefly upon himself and to derive all joy from himself." In other words, true strength comes from embracing who we are, flaws and all, rather than chasing an impossible ideal. Think about it this way: when we accept our imperfections, we cultivate humility. We stop comparing ourselves to others and start focusing on our own journey. Instead of freezing in fear of making mistakes, we allow ourselves to take action, to learn and to improve. Celebrating small progress, whether it's a step forward in your career, a moment of patience in a difficult conversation, or even just showing up when you're feeling overwhelmed, can be far more rewarding than striving for flawless execution. It's in those imperfect moments that we often find our greatest lessons and our deepest sense of fulfillment. So, here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to identify one area in your life where you've been holding yourself to an unrealistic standard. Maybe it's in your work, your relationships, or even your personal goals. What would it look like to let go of that expectation and embrace the beauty of imperfection instead? How might that shift change the way you approach your day-to-day life? By practicing this Stoic habit, you're not settling for less. You're opening yourself up to a richer, more authentic way of living. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be, and the Stoics understood this better than anyone. For them, self-discipline wasn't about restriction, it was about freedom. By mastering their impulses and desires, they believed they could achieve true autonomy over their lives. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple but profound idea reminds us that discipline isn't just about willpower, it's about aligning your actions with your highest values. So, how can you cultivate this kind of self-discipline in your own life? Start small. Set a daily goal that pushes you slightly out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's waking up 10 minutes earlier, reading for 15 minutes, or even limiting your screen time. The key is consistency. Each time you follow through, you're training yourself to prioritize what truly matters over momentary distractions. Over time, these small acts of discipline compound, creating a foundation of resilience and focus that can carry you through life's challenges. Take a moment to reflect. What's one habit you'd like to strengthen? It could be something as simple as drinking more water or as significant as committing to a new skill. Whatever it is, remember that discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every small step you take brings you closer to the person you aspire to be. And in the words of the Stoics, that's where true freedom lies. How much energy do you waste holding on to grudges? Think about it. Every moment spent dwelling on past hurts is a moment taken away from living fully in the present. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw resentment as a self-imposed burden, one that weighs us down far more than the person or situation we're angry at. Epictetus put it bluntly, anger is not only destructive but also futile. It harms you more than the object of your anger. It's a powerful reminder that holding on to negativity doesn't punish anyone but yourself. So, how can you start to let go? One practical step is to write a letter of forgiveness. It doesn't have to be sent. This exercise is for you, not the other person. Pour out your feelings, acknowledge the pain, and then, in your own time, release it. Imagine the weight lifting off your shoulders as you do. What's one grudge you've been carrying that you're ready to release? Take a moment to reflect on it. What would it feel like to simply let it go and reclaim that energy for something more meaningful? Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's actions, it's about freeing your own mind and heart. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of one of Stoicism's most enduring principles. For the Stoics, living with integrity wasn't just about following societal rules. It was about aligning every action, no matter how small, with your deepest values. It's the kind of consistency that builds not only trust with others but also a profound sense of self-respect. Seneca once wrote, "What is true belongs to me." He wasn't talking about possessions or achievements, but about the authenticity of our actions. When we live in alignment with our principles, we claim ownership of our character. And that's where the real power lies. Think about it. How often do we act out of convenience or fear of judgment, only to feel a subtle disconnect afterward? The Stoics remind us that every choice is an opportunity to live authentically, to be true to ourselves, even when it's uncomfortable or unnoticed. So, how can you start practicing this habit? Begin by reflecting on your core values. What matters most to you? Is it honesty, compassion, or resilience? Then, take a moment to assess whether your daily actions reflect those values. Maybe it's as simple as speaking up when you'd rather stay silent, or resisting the urge to cut corners when no one's looking. These small, consistent choices build a life of integrity, one where you can look in the mirror and truly respect the person staring back. Here's a thought to carry with you. Where in your life could you act with greater integrity today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Sometimes the most meaningful changes start with the quietest decisions. When you align your actions with your values, you're not just living well, you're living like a Stoic. What would it feel like to let go of the need to be right all the time? For many of us, that idea might feel uncomfortable at first, but Stoicism teaches that humility isn't about diminishing yourself. It's about opening yourself up to connection and growth. The Stoics saw humility as a profound strength, a way to stay grounded and open to learning from others rather than being trapped in the illusion of superiority. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, rising above ego and embracing humility allows you to respond to challenges with grace and wisdom. Think about it. When you approach a conversation with humility, you're not just listening to respond, you're listening to understand. Imagine the last time you disagreed with someone. What if, instead of digging in your heels to prove your point, you paused and admitted, "You know what, I might be wrong here." That small act of humility can completely transform the dynamic, fostering respect and openness on both sides. It's not about conceding defeat, it's about valuing the connection and the opportunity to learn more than your own pride. So, here's a challenge for you. Reflect on a recent conversation or situation where holding onto your ego might have closed a door. What could have shifted if you'd approached it with humility? Consider how much stronger your relationships and personal growth could be if you let go of the need to always be right. Humility, in the Stoic sense, is a quiet power, one that helps you lead with integrity and grow from every interaction. Change is the only constant. How do you respond to it? For the Stoics, this wasn't just a philosophical musing, it was a practical guide to living. They saw change not as a threat, but as an inevitable part of life that could be harnessed for growth and resilience. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it simply, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do." In other words, acceptance of change is the foundation of inner strength. Take a moment to think about a recent challenge you faced. Maybe it was a sudden shift at work, a relationship that evolved, or even a personal goal that didn't go as planned. Instead of resisting or resenting it, what if you viewed it as an opportunity? The Stoics believed that every change, whether positive or negative, carries the potential to teach us something valuable. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but about finding the silver lining and using it to move forward. Here's a practical way to apply this. Reframe your perspective. If you've been resisting a change, ask yourself why. Is it fear of the unknown, a desire for control, or simply discomfort? Once you identify the root, challenge yourself to see the situation through a Stoic lens. What can you learn from this? How can it make you stronger or more adaptable? For example, if you've been avoiding a career shift because it feels uncertain, consider how this change might open doors you hadn't imagined. Now it's your turn. Think about one change you've been resisting in your life. What's holding you back? And more importantly, how might embracing it transform your perspective? The Stoics remind us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond, and that's where true resilience lies. How often do you truly try to see things from another's perspective? It's easy to get caught up in our own thoughts and feelings, but the Stoics remind us that empathy is a cornerstone of meaningful relationships. They believe that understanding others isn't just a kindness, it's a way to cultivate deeper connections and live a more harmonious life. Seneca once said, "We are born for the good of each other," emphasizing that our ability to empathize is what binds us together as a community. So, how can you put this into practice? Start by actively listening in your conversations. Instead of planning your response or judging what's being said, focus entirely on the other person's words and emotions. This simple shift can transform the way you interact with others, creating space for genuine understanding. Think about a recent disagreement you had. How might things have unfolded differently if you had approached it with empathy? Taking a moment to reflect on this can help you see the power of compassion in action. Empathy isn't about agreeing with everyone. It's about recognizing their humanity, even when you see things differently. And when you do that, you'll find that your relationships become richer and more fulfilling. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. These words, often attributed to Leonardo da Vinci, capture a truth that the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that by stripping away the unnecessary, we uncover clarity and peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This isn't just about physical possessions. It's about simplifying your thoughts, commitments, and distractions. When we focus on what truly matters, we free ourselves from the weight of excess. Imagine decluttering just one area of your life, whether it's your workspace, your schedule, or even your mental habits. What could you let go of to create more space for what truly enriches you? Start small. Perhaps it's clearing out a drawer or saying no to that extra obligation that drains your energy. The act of simplifying isn't about deprivation. It's about creating room for what brings purpose and joy. What's one thing you could release today to step closer to a more intentional life? How often do you rush through life without savoring the journey? It's easy to get caught up in the need for immediate results, but Stoicism teaches us that patience is far more than just waiting. It's a powerful form of self-mastery. The Stoics believed that patience allows us to align with the natural flow of life, trusting the process even when it feels slow or uncertain. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly," reminding us that lasting value comes from steady effort over time. Practicing patience isn't about passively enduring but actively embracing the present moment. When you're stuck in traffic or waiting in a long line, instead of letting frustration take over, see it as an opportunity to strengthen your calm. These small, everyday moments are perfect for cultivating patience, and over time, they add up to build resilience. Take a moment to reflect on one area of your life where patience feels especially challenging. Maybe it's a project at work, a personal goal, or even a relationship. What would it look like to approach that situation with a Stoic mindset, trusting the process and finding peace in the waiting? By mastering patience, you not only become more grounded, but also more irresistible in your ability to handle life's uncertainties with grace. In solitude, we find ourselves. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The ancient Stoics understood that stepping away from the noise of the world wasn't just a luxury, it was a necessity for clarity and growth. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage," and often that courage begins in moments of quiet reflection, where we can truly confront our thoughts and emotions without distraction. Solitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about creating space to reconnect with your inner self. Think of it as a mental reset button. When you're alone, free from the influence of others, you can listen to your own voice more clearly. This is where self-awareness deepens, where you can assess your values, actions, and goals with honesty. It's in these moments that you gain the clarity to make better decisions and align your life with what truly matters. So how can you incorporate this practice into your daily routine? It doesn't have to be hours of meditation in a remote cabin. Start small. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk without your phone, or sitting quietly with a cup of coffee before the day begins. The key is consistency. Schedule these moments even if they're brief, and treat them as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Over time, you'll notice how these pockets of solitude sharpen your focus and strengthen your inner resilience. Now take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to be alone with your thoughts? How might carving out even a little solitude each day help you see your life with greater clarity? The answers may surprise you, and they could be the first step toward a more intentional and purposeful way of living. When was the last time you gave without expecting anything in return? Generosity, in the Stoic view, isn't just about material gifts. It's about cultivating a spirit of giving that enriches both the giver and the receiver. The Stoics believed that true fulfillment comes from contributing to the well-being of others, not from accumulating possessions or seeking recognition. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Even the smallest act of kindness can create ripples far beyond what we can see. To practice generosity like a Stoic, start with one small act of kindness each day. It could be as simple as offering a genuine compliment, holding the door for someone, or sending a thoughtful message to a friend. The key is to give without attaching strings or expectations. This selfless approach not only builds stronger connections with others, but also fosters a deep sense of inner joy and contentment. Generosity also shifts our focus away from our own worries and toward the needs of others. When we give freely, we remind ourselves that we're part of something larger, a community, a shared human experience. Stoicism teaches us that by lifting others, we elevate ourselves. Take a moment to reflect. How has generosity, even in its simplest forms, influenced your relationships and your sense of purpose? When you give without expecting anything back, you're not just helping someone else, you're nurturing your own growth and resilience. So today, challenge yourself to perform one act of kindness purely for the sake of giving. Notice how it feels to extend generosity without any thought of reward. Over time, this habit can transform not only how you interact with others, but also how you see yourself in the world. It's a subtle yet powerful way to live with integrity and grace. Death is not to be feared, it's a reminder to live fully. This might sound counterintuitive, but the Stoics believed that accepting our mortality is one of the most powerful ways to awaken a deeper sense of purpose and gratitude. Instead of avoiding the thought of death, they practiced Memento Mori, which translates to remember you must die. This wasn't about dwelling on the morbid, but rather using the awareness of life's impermanence as a tool to clarify what truly matters. Seneca famously wrote, "It is not that we have so little time, but that we lose much of it." His words remind us that life is long enough if we use it wisely, but too often we waste it on trivial pursuits. Imagine if today were your last day. How would you spend it? Who would you reach out to? What would you prioritize? This kind of reflection isn't meant to induce panic, but to help you strip away the noise and focus on what's essential. When we accept that our time is limited, we're more likely to act with urgency and intentionality. This doesn't mean we should rush through life, but rather that we should savor each moment and invest our energy in what aligns with our deepest values. Take a moment to think about your own life. Are you spending your days on things that truly matter to you? If the answer isn't clear, that's okay. This is a practice, not a test. The beauty of embracing impermanence is that it allows us to recalibrate, to let go of what no longer serves us, and to move forward with greater clarity. By accepting the inevitability of death, we paradoxically find the courage to live more fully, more authentically, and with a deeper appreciation for the time we have. What kind of leader are you when no one is watching? This question cuts to the heart of what it means to lead by example, a principle the Stoics held in the highest regard. For them, leading wasn't about titles, authority, or giving orders. It was about embodying your values in every action, especially when no one is there to witness it. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, your actions should align with your ideals, not just your words. It's easy to talk about integrity, discipline, or kindness, but the real test is whether you live those values when it's inconvenient or unseen. Think about the people who have inspired you most in your life. Chances are it wasn't their speeches or advice that left a lasting impression. It was how they carried themselves, how they handled challenges, and how they treated others. That's the power of leading by example. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency in showing up as the best version of yourself. Here's a practical step. Identify one area of your life where you can model the behavior you'd like to see in others. Maybe it's showing more patience during stressful moments or being more disciplined with your daily habits. Whatever it is, focus on living it out authentically, not just preaching it. And as you do, take a moment to reflect. How are your actions influencing those around you? Are you inspiring them to grow or simply telling them to? Leadership isn't about being seen, it's about being the kind of person others want to follow. As we've explored these 20 Stoic habits, it's clear that their true power lies in their subtlety. Individually, they might seem small, practicing gratitude, maintaining composure, or focusing on what's within your control. But together, they form a way of being that radiates strength, calm, and authenticity. These habits don't demand grand gestures or dramatic changes. Instead, they invite you to cultivate a mindset and presence that naturally draws others in. Rooted in Stoic principles, they teach us to navigate life with clarity, purpose, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." Be one. This simple yet profound idea captures the essence of these habits. They're not about overthinking or striving for perfection. They're about consistent, intentional action. Each habit builds on the other, shaping you into someone who is not only grounded but also deeply compelling. It's the quiet confidence, the unwavering focus, and the genuine care for others that make Stoic habits so transformative. So, as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this question. Which of these habits will you start practicing today? Maybe it's embracing silence to reflect, or perhaps it's letting go of things beyond your control. Whatever it is, remember that change begins with a single step. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more insights like these, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear which habit resonated with you most. Here's to becoming the best version of yourself, one subtle yet powerful habit at a time.